What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here, back with another Classic WoW video for Season of Discovery. So today we're going to talk more about Phase 4, and to be fair, there's some pretty bad news for Season of Discovery. It could be bad, it could be good, it depends on your point of view, but I'm going to consider it bad, and I'll give my point of view on this, and my reactions, my take basically, on this as well in this video. And then you can form your own opinion on if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but basically Phase 4 is looking like it's still quite a few weeks away, and to me it seems like Phase 4 is dropping way too late, and it's well, further away than I was hoping and even expecting. Now, all of this stems from Agrand on Twitter responding to a tweet and talking about the length of the PTR, kind of, in the same comment. So let's dive into the source material first and talk more about it as we go through. Now, Wowhead has made a really easy to follow blog post about this. Phase 4 PTR could last several weeks, Season of Discovery. So Josh Greenfield, also known as Agrand, has hinted that the Season of Discovery Phase 4 PTR could last several weeks. The WoW Classic senior game producer commented on the fact that, as of right now, world buffs are not currently available on the Phase 4 PTR, which is currently being held on the WoW Classic era PTR. So if you played Phase 4 on the PTR, world buffs are not available, and that's by choice, or by intent. Greenfield explains that the development team wants to see how the classes perform at their baseline, and that world buffs will appear sometimes after the first few weeks of the PTR. Yes, it was a deliberate choice to not include the world buffs in these first few weeks of PTR. Once they are here, no one will test without them, and getting a baseline without them would be impossible. We will add them at some point in the future, once we get the data that we are looking for without them, and we stabilize the initial change a little bit. So once again, first few weeks of PTR. A public test realm, first few weeks. Now, to me, a few weeks is more than 2, but probably less than 5. I don't know, because like 1 week, 2 weeks, and then a few weeks. When you start adding the word a few weeks, to me that's more than 2. So you're telling me we're gonna have more than 2 weeks without world buffs, and then we're gonna have the rest of the few weeks without, with world buffs. We're looking at a 6 weeks plus PTR schedule. Maybe. By mentioning that the PTR version without world buffs could last for a few weeks, Greenfield also implies that the Phase 4 PTR could be around for longer than expected, a fact that comes as a surprise and is very much welcomed by the community overall. Okay, I don't know where you got that from, because I'm seeing the exact opposite, but maybe I'm being dumb here, but very much welcomed by the community. I mean, I'm going to talk more about this later, but a longer PTR will give them more information and the chances to polish Phase 4 even more. But you know what could also make that happen faster? Hiring more people. Instead of having one small developer team of like, let's say 6 people working on both Cataclysm and Season of Discovery, hire more people. Have independent, like one team focusing on Classic, Cataclysm, and one focused on the Phase 4 or Season of Discovery. While a longer testing period may result in a later Phase 4 release date, it also could increase the quality of released content. And I mean, going over to Twitter and reading the tweet and some of the comments, I don't know where they get the whole mostly welcomed thing here, because for the most part, most of the comments that talk about their feelings about this, they express like kind of a wow, first few weeks of PTR, or what do you mean first few weeks of PTR, and stuff like that. Like we can see this one, wow, few weeks of PTR, first few weeks. Does that imply a launch date later than July 4th or the week after? And then scrolling down, you will have several more comments talking about weeks of PTR. A lot of people seem to feel like this PTR is lasting, or going to be lasting, for way longer than they thought, and I'm in the same boat. For me, like, Phase 2 has already been out for 2.5 months. At this time, we would have already been in the next phase. in the other phases of Season of Discovery. And going more into that, I feel like every single phase has actually lasted for way longer than it should, because we are working on an accelerated, or not we're working on a segmented leveling cadence phasing schedule, where they're literally phasing up the leveling content. It's leveling. A lot of people just want to level 60 and experience level 60 content. It's taken us almost a year to get to level 60 content in a seasonal server. The last season lasted for a year, by the way, and now we are not even at the level 60 content, almost a year in, like 8 or 9 months in. Now, considering in that tweet they said they wanted the first few weeks to be without world buffs on the PTR, in 2 weeks, or 2 weeks and 2 days, we have July 4th. To me, that basically means that we're gonna have the PTR without world buffs until at least July 4th, and they probably wanna have a couple of weeks of testing with world buffs as well on the PTR to make some final class adjustments and class changes on the PTR, which to me, I would speculate the earliest we're gonna see Phase 4 is July 18th or July 25th. Assuming a Thursday release, which I think is what we have been working with so far, so July 18th or July 25th, I would expect one of those 2 dates to be the release date of Phase 4, and if that's true, that is way too late. That's going to be almost a, 4 months long Phase 3, which I don't know how you feel, but for me, Phase 3 has been the worst phase by far. Phase 1 was the best, Phase 2 was still really good, and Phase 3 looked good on paper, fell apart really quickly though. So for me, Phase 3 just hasn't been it. And on top of that, it hasn't been it, and it's the longest phase. Those are not 2 good things to mix together in the same phase. If you want to have one phase be the longest one, make it be the best phase. Should have been Phase 1. Because that's when everyone played, and most of the people that enjoyed Season of Discovery enjoyed Phase 1 the most. Even, I feel like most people enjoyed Phase 1 the most. Meanwhile, Phase 3 is the one being dragged out, and referring back to what I just talked about previously, I feel like all of the phases have been dragged out way too much, because they just want us to spend as much time in the season as possible, instead of just giving us content. What I thought Seasonal Discovery was just going to be content. Let's say 4 to 6 weeks of level Phase 1, 4 to 6 weeks of Phase 2, 4 to 6 weeks of Phase 3, and keeping this going, always giving us something fresh to experience, instead of farming a raid for 2 months. While we're leveling. I thought these level up raids were just going to be something fun to dabble into, not farm full bis inside the raid before the next one came out. I was expecting leveling phases to be way shorter than they have been so far, and it just feels dragged out to me. I don't know, I feel like they're dragging out the leveling process by a lot. Now, one more thing, if I am actually correct about a July 18th or July 25th release date for Phase 4, that is 1 month before the next retail WoW expansion, and I'm not here saying that everyone who plays Classic WoW plays retail also. In fact, I'm saying quite the opposite. The majority of people playing Seasonal Discovery probably doesn't play retail, but why try to overlap phases or content in your own games? Because even though most people, let's just say 75%, only plays Seasonal Discovery or only plays Classic and never plays retail, you still have that 25% that likes playing all versions of the game. Me, for example, I'm gonna play retail, I'm also playing Seasonal Discovery and Cataclysm, and I'm still really pissed about them overlapping, for example, the Mist of Pandaria remix event and Cataclysm as well. They keep doing this where they keep competing with each other or with themselves for their own game releases. Now, if Season of Discovery Phase 4 is like 5 to 6 weeks away from the War Within, that's fine. But anywhere less than 4 weeks, that is bad, because then people want to prepare for the next retail expansion as well, and it's just gonna create this weird overlap that doesn't have to be there. Especially when Blizzard could just hire more people, get content out faster. TLDR, Phase 3 has been lasting way too long, and Phase 4 is way too late. And no matter how hyped I personally am for Phase 4, I'm just gonna say it, the fact that Phase 3 has been going on for this long, and that Phase 4 is coming out as late as it is, has caused some irreversible changes or irreversible damages to the season as a whole, where a bunch of people have just gotten bored and quit, and they probably won't come back for Phase 4. While I'm saying that, I also will say that a lot of people will come back for Phase 4, definitely, and try it out. Give it a try, give it a solid shake, it's level 60 content after all, but the fact that it's been going on for this long right now, Phase 3, and Phase 4 is so late, it has definitely caused some damages, some irreversible damages to the season, and I hope that's something they keep in mind for a future season, if they go for a future season at some point. Maybe speeding up the content cadence, the leveling phasing at least. Like, leveling has been way too slowed down, and the content cadence as well has been very slow. There's been some good changes in Phase 3 that should have been here a long time ago, like increasing the loot from Sunken Temple to make it more valuable should have been here. Like, they made that halfway through the phase to make people more enticed to play. But that change should have been here from week 1 or week 2. People complained at the start that the gear was really shit, and they should have put that change in way sooner than they did. They're doing the bare minimum and expecting top results, which we've seen this in the past. Bare minimum effort, maximum reward. The cycle repeats itself. Either way, that's the video for today. Just wanted to talk more about Phase 4 and my whole thoughts around it being so late, and talk more about the tweet that is currently being, well, it's a hot topic. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I would be very interested to hear what you have to say about this and what your thoughts are. So yeah, leave them down below, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.